Now we recognize the gentle lady from California, Ms. Kim, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman and Ranking Member. I also want to thank the witnesses for being with us today. You've heard a lot from my colleagues about how the PPP has been tremendous assistance in allowing small business owners. And in my district also, it's been a lifeline for them to weather the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and unprecedented lockdowns. We're talking about now the next phase of PPP forgiveness. The massive effort of distributing close to 12 million PPP loans and sustaining close to 50 million jobs couldn't have been possible with our partners like the banks and credit unions. So I want to thank them and the partnership they've had with you guys. But I was troubled to hear SBA was threatening, I was really troubled to hear that SBA was threatening lenders to opt into the direct forgiveness program to avoid audits by the Office of Credit Risk Management. Where SBA later clarified that audits would focus on lenders that have yet to accept forgiveness for 2021 PPP borrowers or those that are not actively reaching out, the damage has been done. And SBA must be careful not to vilify lenders moving forward. And I also must stress that whether a bank or any other lending institution opts in or not with the SBA's forgiveness portal has no bearing on a borrower's opportunity to get their PPP loan forgiven. Many banks and lenders have already set up their own forgiveness platforms that are complementary to SBA's and have been really highly efficient. So let me ask you, Mr. Fisher, I agree with your testimony that the SBA should not force lenders to opt into the direct forgiveness portal. And with a high number of review requests from the SBA, which requires lenders to put resources aside to provide documentations, what should we expect if SBA decides to proceed with audit on lenders on top of all these review requests? And how is that going to divert your attention in serving your customers properly?
Well, it diverts resources away from my mission of serving our local community and our customers and helping small business. If I'm trying to, provide documents and trying to deal with auditors from SBA, that it becomes problematic for us.
Sure. Mr. Fisher, you also said in your testimony, you mentioned SBA's lending programs like the 7A and 504. They rely on bank underwriting and the expertise that lenders bring to the table. So can you explain to our committee what would change if SBA moved in the direction of direct-to-borrower programs at the SBA?
Obviously, if you leave the bank out of it, you're subject to potentially more fraud. I think that's been brought up that the EIDL advances saw substantially more fraud as direct loans to SBA than the bank loans. So I think, looking at it from the standpoint of trying to reduce fraud, I think utilize your existing framework of community banks and banks to continue that lending through the 7A program and 504 programs, and even PPP was very successful. Mm-hmm. And I think limited fraud by utilizing the banking framework that we have.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I think the biggest concern that we have is the impact, and we want to make sure that there is a prevention of waste, fraud, and abuse with those programs. One more question, and I would like to direct this to Ms. Payne. Why do you believe the forgiveness review process by the SBA is challenging and time-consuming? Are there certain steps that add extra days to the review?
When a loan goes into under loan review, it is a time-consuming process because it's not typically that the lender has a direct communication with the SBA representative. It's basically an email is sent out, sometimes can be fairly vague, and then we're asking for additional documentation. Sometimes it's already been uploaded and we're repeating ourselves. Sometimes we have to then reach out to the borrower to get additional information, not always understanding what that's going to do for the loan itself in terms of the forgiveness review. So it does add days. It also adds frustration and confusion. and stress for the borrower in terms of the fear that why am I under review? So there's a lot of factors, but it does add time and it can add other things, stress that a small business owner does not need at this time.
I have another question to ask, but I think my time is up, so I will yield my time back. Thank you.